Well, if you want to be a very successful agent, you have to become a fantastic communicator. Technology is so prevalent now, right? Like the phone, everything is the phone, the internet, Facebook, Instagram. A lot of people have forgotten how to speak to another human being, right? And not even like be a great speaker, just be good, okay. Most people, if I grab somebody off the street and I tell them, hey, go talk to that stranger, they'll get scared, right? They'll get scared and oh, what do I say? What do I do? And that makes me laugh because if I know that's a real estate agent, I'm like, dude, this is your job. My full legal name is Bryan Casella. I originally, my family's from Argentina, from South America. So my parents immigrated here, and I was the first one from my family born on American soil. So growing up, I grew up in California and Los Angeles, and my parents were really trying to, figure life out in the States. They had to start new careers, right? They didn't come over with much money and they kind of had to figure it out. So my dad ended up becoming a truck driver and my mom ended up taking, whatever job she could get just to make money. Now, me growing up with that though, I didn't know the difference. So I didn't feel like I had anything missing as a kid. The one thing I can say that I felt was instilled in me from my father was that, hardworking spirit. So from a young age, at age 10, I started playing basketball and I really dedicated myself to the sport. And I ended up doing very well in high school. I got a scholarship to play a Division I in college. I ended up playing professionally in Europe. I went to go play basketball in Spain for a couple of years. And until I got a really bad injury that forced me to get surgery and stop playing basketball, that was my kind of life story. And the path that I took was just athletics, right? Playing basketball. So after my surgery, I decide at age 24, I'm not going to play basketball anymore, right? I didn't walk. I hurt my ankle, right? I had surgery. I didn't walk for about 6 months. It was really severe. So I ended up going back to South America with my father's brother. And I ended up staying there for a year and a half working with him and kind of just relaxing because I knew when I came back to America, I had to get a real job, right? So I enjoyed the time in South America, but I come back and I'm a little bit lost. I don't know what to do, right? From age 9, 10 until 25, all I did was eat, sleep, breathe, basketball, sports. Now I have to reinvent myself. I start kind of checking out what I wanted to do. I always knew, even when I was a kid, I wanted to run my own business. That was always a dream of mine. So when I looked at real estate, among many other things, I said, okay, this is cool. This is like being an entrepreneur. I have my own business. I set my own schedule. It's just something new that I have to learn, right? I don't get paid per hour. I make commissions. It's new, it's challenging, but I can figure this out. So that's what I ended up doing. I said, okay, I'm going to get my real estate license. And I ended up in 2012 signing up for the courses. And by the summer of 2013, I got my real estate license. And that's when everything started, right? I started making YouTube videos. I started building my real estate business and everything just exploded after that. That I think is something that changes for people over time, right? When I first got into the business, really, I part of it was like a chip on my shoulder. I wanted to prove people wrong. I always felt like even when I pursued my basketball career that everybody was against me. Nobody supported me. So part of it was proving people wrong. Hey, I said I'm going to be a real estate agent. I'm going to be number one to show them that I'm the best, right? And I don't think that's necessarily the best thing to motivate you, but I think it can drive you a lot because it comes from ego, right? Which isn't the best thing, but in a sense, it can help you in certain times, right? The other part for me was I remember, growing up and not having too much and, obviously going to visit South America and seeing my family. Nobody in my family ever really made any money or was ever at least comfortable to where they didn't have to worry about money. And I never liked that growing up, right? I don't like seeing people suffer, especially mentally, right? So I said, you know what? Not just for me, but for them, so at least they can see it. I want to put myself in a position where I don't have to worry about money anymore. I want to be the first one in the family. It's almost like a legacy thing. I
Hmm.
want to be the first one in the family to break that chain and say,
Yeah.
hey, we're okay now, right? We don't have to struggle anymore.
Hmm.
We're okay. I built the foundation. Now we can pass it to the next generation and the next generation,
Yeah.
right? And I almost felt like a responsibility to do that. And that for me, especially in the beginning, was a very big driving factor because I feel like everybody depends on me. So I have a big responsibility that I'm holding, you know? Right? Number one, even though I saw the potential in social media in the beginning, I wasn't purposeful and consistent enough with social media. So I should have dedicated more time and content creation to social media for sure. Number two, I noticed, you know, especially looking back, that I was my own worst enemy when I was new. My negative self-talk, getting in my own way, stopping myself, not managing my emotions. So if I was to go back, I would have invested a lot more time and training in that and bettering my own mind, because I was still very immature back then and I didn't realize the power of your mindset, right? Positive thinking, you know, emotional intelligence and all those things that now I know, but back then I didn't pay attention to it. I thought it was dumb. I thought it was unimportant back then, but I knew, especially, you know, that first year or two for most agents, you will feel like there's a lot of pressure on you and you feel a lot of stress. So being able to manage that will make you much more effective, because that I would call a self-imposed issue, where now you already have the challenges outside of you, but now you're adding a bigger problem because now you're causing your own suffering, right? One that I think is big is a lot of agents, including myself, when we're newer in the business, we tend to hunt new business with people we don't know, but we neglect the people that we already know.
Right. Okay.
And a big problem of mine was not using the network and people that I already knew, because when I sat down and said, okay, who do I know? And I started writing down and collecting all the information of the people that I knew dozens and dozens and dozens of people. And my first transaction, my first home sale, was from somebody that I knew. Worked those people better, I think I could have gotten more momentum faster in my business if I did that. So that was mistake number 3. You want to be a very successful agent, you have to become a fantastic communicator. I think a lot of agents, especially now, and I think even outside of real estate, technology is so prevalent now, right? Like the phone, everything is the phone, the internet, Facebook, Instagram. A lot of people have forgotten how to speak to another human being, right? And not even like be a great speaker, just be good, okay. You know, most people, if I grab somebody off the street and I tell them, hey, go talk to that stranger, they'll get scared, right? They'll get scared and, oh, what do I say? What do I do? And that makes me laugh, because if I know that's a real estate agent, I'm like, dude, this is your job. You're supposed to be good at this. You're supposed to talk to people and be comfortable and be inviting, right? And be energetic, right? And be able to, because obviously we're dealing with people buying and selling homes. So there's some sales parts of it too, where we have to, you know, educate people on certain things and guide them to make a decision. So that's a skill set that I think a lot of people, maybe they hear that and they say, okay, but there's very little time that they spend working on it. You know, like my team here in America, I have a team now in 14 states. Every day we drill our communication skills to get better and better and better. And that's why even a lot of new agents that I get on my team, they start selling a lot of houses right away, because we're building those skills, because that's the human to human connection, right? Another one I would say is treating their time in the business like an actual business, right? Tracking their money, their expenses, their income, having a schedule, right? Having a standard. What does your ideal client look like? What do they do, right? Having certain standards within their business and treating their work like an actual business. Most people who get into the business, they act like an employee. They expect somebody to tell them when to show up, what to do. They think they can only work 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., right? So that mentality switch from employee to, okay, I'm a CEO, I run my own business, will make it better for them too, right? And I think a lot of especially people who come into real estate, I notice they're not ex-entrepreneurs or with experience already. Many times, like me, this is their first business or first entrepreneurial, endeavor. So that shift from employee to, boss, CEO is a little challenging for some people, right? But one example is you take responsibility for everything. You have to. If I end up not getting a deal or not helping the buyer or seller and they went with somebody else, I don't blame them. I look at me and say, what could I have done better? What do I need to change, right? Do I need to talk to more people? Do I need to work on my communication, right? It forces you to build and fix all of the mistakes that you're doing to become better, right? And I think when you do that, overall, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years down the road as an agent, you start building your business a lot bigger and a lot faster. Marketing is huge, right? Marketing is the way that people become aware of us and learn about our brands. So, man, there's so much you can do. Social media, I think, is one of the most powerful tools because, number one, almost everybody's using social media, right? Number two, I think most people now on the planet, they spend the majority of their time on their phone or their computer, right? And a lot of that time is being spent on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and some of these popular social media applications. So that's one of the reasons I started doing it right away. One of the best ways that I did it when I was new was I did a lot of door-to-door canvassing, going door-to-door in neighborhoods, and I did a lot of phone calls, right? For a new agent who has more time than money, those are going to be two very key ways for you to talk to a lot of people every day, right? If you go door to door, it's free. All you got to do is knock on doors, right? Now the phone calls may be a little bit more difficult, but nowadays everybody has a cell phone. All you need to do is get a list of phone numbers to call and you can call. So I did when I was new. I knocked on 100 doors every day, residential doors, and I made 200 phone calls by hand every day, 6 days a week, right? And I ended up having about anywhere from 40 to 50 conversations with people every day. Now, that sounds like a lot, but out of those 40 or 50, only a small percentage every day will be interested, right? That's why you have to talk to more people. So social media, and then my active, they call that active marketing, where I reach out to people, the door-to-door and the calling. Those were the two main avenues for me to market myself because it was like a big vortex, right? I talk to a lot of people, they become aware of my brand. I'm putting out on social media. Now everybody sees me. They hear from me live or see me in person, but they're also seeing me on the phone and on the computer, right? YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. So I think it's a harmony of doing both that helps somebody grow, because all of my growth on social media and my business has been 100% organic, like 100% organic. 200,000 followers almost on YouTube, organic. I didn't pay for followers. I didn't run ads. That was just organic following built from producing content, right? And I think that's one of the most important things for people to do, especially if it's still free, is produce the content every day. We've had a lot of repeat customers over the years. I can't tell you exactly how many, but it's a lot. I think we just helped somebody 3 weeks ago who we helped sell their home 3 years ago. And now this new home they want to sell and move again. And they contacted us. So there's a lot you can do to stay in touch. Social media, that's part of it, sure. Because some clients that you end up doing business with will become your friend. And if they follow you on social media, they're going to see you all the time, right? So that's a good way to, stay relevant. Another thing that we do every year, we do this twice a year, is we do what's called client appreciation parties. So this is what I do. I'll contact some of my team, like my lender, right? The people who help me finance the properties on the buyer side, the escrow companies, the people who handle the transaction when we have a buyer and a seller. They're the company who's in the middle, right? The title person who insures the title insurance policy on the property that we sell, right? Those are some of the things that in America we call vendors. So my vendors are a part of my team. The home inspector, the person who comes and inspects the home to make sure it's okay. What I do to make this easy is to say, hey, vendors, I'm going to do a client appreciation party, in March. Can you be a sponsor? So what they do is I invite them to the party, right? Everybody sponsors it. If there's any costs involved, which normally isn't too much, everybody splits it. So everybody pays a little bit of money, and then we all come in together. And I have this client appreciation party where I send out, I call everybody that's a past client. We also send them something in the mail, inviting them to the party. And normally we'll have anywhere from 80 to about 130 or 140 people come to these parties, right? My vendors are there. We get to hang out. They get to bring their families. You know, we have a good time. That's one way of doing it, right? So social media, the client appreciation parties, they also receive marketing material from us. We send one email every week, and I also send them something in the mail once a month, right? We also send them a birthday card, right? You know all the birthdays of all our clients. We send them a little birthday card as well. And let's see, is there anything else that we do for the past clients that's different? No, that's it. That's it. So there's so many types of clients that I like, but I would say this is the number one. There's something that we work, a lead source that my team really does well with. It's called expired listings. An expired listing is somebody who listed with another realtor and the sale was unsuccessful. So they hired another realtor for, let's say 60 days. The contract was 60 days. After the 60 days, the home did not sell, right? Now, after that 60 days, that contract expires. That becomes an expired listing. So now, once it's expired, it's open for any agent to now contact that person and try to get the listing. So I would say probably 30-40% of our business is that type of client, right? And they're my favorite because many times when we get in contact with them, they're upset, they're mad, they don't like real estate agents, and rightly so, right? They just work with a real estate agent who didn't get the job done. I like it because it's a challenge, but usually those people are extremely grateful once they hire us and we sell the house, because then they can move on and the job is done. Doing them for a while, especially because I've been very active on social media for years. Like if you go to my YouTube, you can see some of the home tours that I featured on my YouTube channel. And I think that's important because I always tell people there's 4 things that you need to do to sell a house, right? Number one, most important thing is the correct price, right? The price has to be good. If the price is good, that's the majority of the battle, right? But number 2 is the pictures and the online presentation has to be good, because the majority of buyers, I think they said 87 or 88% of buyers, they start their home search online. So that means they're going to houses and looking at pictures, and that first impression is really important. So the drone footage, the virtual tours, and all that falls into that number 2 category. And it is important because that presentation is what's going to entice a buyer to come and look at the house. And I know if I have more buyers in the house, the possibility of me getting more offers is higher. And if I have more offers and more buyer interest, I can sell it for more and maybe get the seller some more money, right? The other 2 obviously are making sure that the home is available most of the day for buyers to come. And then the last one is it shows well. It smells good, it looks good, it's neat, it's not messy, right? It's easy for people to come in and go, and the presentation of the home is nice. So when they go in, they feel like, okay, this is like one of those homes on TV. It's beautiful, it smells good, it looks good, it feels like a home. I mean, there's so many ways of doing it. I think it just comes down to people's personal preference. The one device, there's 2 things I'll talk about, but the first one is one of my team members, he actually bought one of those cameras that it's like a vlogging camera that when you shoot with it, right, and you do video, it does 360, but it blurs out the camera, so you don't see the camera. So you shoot with the camera, but you don't see the camera, and it does 360 degrees. So we were doing tours with that, which I thought was amazing because not only did it get video, but you also had the ability to like stop and create like a 3D model of the house. And then somebody could come in and look at, specific rooms, different angles. So I thought the versatility of that was really cool. But the second one that I think is what I enjoyed the most and I think is the best, personally, right? It's just my opinion. The property tours that you guys can find on my YouTube, I love those because I'm showing a home, but I'm showing the home my way, right? I have my own personality, I have my own style, and I think a lot of people in the real estate industry, they forget that. They look and they sound and they move just like everybody else, right? I know that if somebody watches my video, there's no way they're gonna think that I'm like everybody else. And I think that's a missing ingredient that a lot of real estate agents miss. You have to be able to stand out. Not that you're pretending to be something you're not, but your own individuality, your own personality has to come out. And you see that when you watch these property tour videos. My personality comes out. So I think that's the best, because not only am I doing my job and showing the home, but it's entertaining to people. And that's the thing, is I know as an agent with my video, I entertain. And people forget, when you make video, even if it's educational, you have to entertain people. If you're boring, nobody wants to watch you. They're gonna watch you for 2 seconds and then go to the next video. And I think that that's a missing piece to the puzzle that people forget about with social media, is when people see you, they have to be entertained. Otherwise, they're not gonna watch you. When COVID started last year, and for 2 months, they didn't let us show homes or do anything. For me, nothing changed. I just said, I've been doing this for years. This is nothing new for me. Now, for the majority of my industry, it was a harsh, rude awakening for them, because like, oh, I have to do video now. But for me, I had already been doing it for years. And I do think it's important. I just think COVID made it obvious to people now how important it is. To make adjustments, sure. And depending on where you were in America, every state and city had different restrictions with COVID, right? So I'm in Florida now. Florida's 100% open. Nobody has to wear a mask. Everything is normal. If you go back to California, it's the opposite. So I think it really depended for the agents where they were located. But when we started in Los Angeles, March of last year, when the shutdown started, they didn't let us work for 2 months. So in that short time period, yes, things changed, because I couldn't even meet with people. So we had to do like Zoom meetings like this. If I had somebody interested in selling their home, we would meet via Zoom. Now, the benefit is, again, I've been doing this stuff for years. So for me to jump on a Zoom with the seller, I was doing Zooms every day. So when I say it stayed the same for me, it's because a lot of the adjustments that other people had to make, these were things that we were already doing. You look at my brokerage, eXp Realty, it's all virtual, right? We log on the virtual world. We talk to people on the Zoom world, the eXp world. So we were already doing things virtual. So the step that the industry had to take, we had already taken it. You understand what I'm saying? So the adjustment for us was very simple, and it was basically business as usual. For a new agent, this is something I think they have to understand. When you start, like when I started, I didn't have the luxury of, well, I want to take, days off. I said, okay, I'm not going to have to do this forever, but I'm going to have to sacrifice in the beginning and work maybe 7 a.m. until 7 or 8 p.m. I can't do 9 to 5, maybe later, right? So that transition goes from the beginning. It did cut into my personal life, but I knew in my mind, I said, this isn't going to be forever. I just have to build my foundation now. I have to sacrifice in the temporary, so the future, I have the time. So what I did I would say the first 2 years, I worked pretty much all day, right? Then things started changing, right? After 2 years, now I have some business, I have some clients, I'm making some money. So what I did is I said, okay, now remember what I said earlier, I have to think like a business person, like a CEO. Now I can put people and hire people to be available when I'm not. I can hire an assistant. I can hire a transaction coordinator to help me during a transaction, right? They call them TCs here, transaction coordinators, right? I can start hiring people, and they call it leverage, right? I'm scaling my business. I'm bringing employees in. Once I started doing that, I started getting some of my time back. So the first person I ever hired, I hired a virtual assistant, right? And the virtual assistant, originally, I had them working 4 hours a day in the evening for me. That way, at 5, the virtual assistant took over. They handled phone calls, they handled emails. I taught them how to do the contracts if they had to do it. That way, in the evening, I had time for me, and my virtual assistant would take care of it, right? Now, later on, that graduated to me hiring a full-time assistant. Now that assistant is with me all day. answering those phone calls, and I would delegate a lot of that work, busy work, administrative work, to that person. So I had more time for me, and the time that I did have, I could spend finding new clients. So that's like a stepping stone and ladder that agents have to go through. In the beginning, you sacrifice, but then as you start building your business, you put systems in place so that you can have some of your time back to either spend it how you want, or you can use your time on the most income producing activities instead of busy work.